Hi, this is Kala Goliwala. Welcome to another episode of the BIPOC Manager podcast. In today's episode, I'm very excited to have Sangheetha Parthasarathy with us. Sangheetha is a nervous system coach for Indian women execs. She's a first generation British Asian, born and raised in India, educated and worked in the US. Her academic credentials are from BITS Pilani, University of Cincinnati, UPenn, Harvard, and MIT. And she's transitioned from a successful strategy consultant to a somatic experiencing practitioner focusing on attachment and power wounds. Sangheetha, please.
Michael, it's great to be here. I know we've it's been a long time coming, so very glad to be a part of this.
Amazing, Sagia. So before we start, do you want me to talk a little bit of kind of what that kind of kind of nervous coaching you do and what that's involved?
Yes, yes, yeah. So people look at nervous system coaching. It's like, what is that? So essentially, um, when we look at personal growth or coaching, or even therapy in general, broadly speaking, mentorship, personal growth tends to be very mind focused and brain focused and almost body phobic, as if the body doesn't exist and it's a passive participant in the human experience, and that it's all up here, you know. The reality is that we are sensing creatures first, and feeling creatures second, and thinking creatures third. That's just the way the brain and body work. So there's a whole branch of personal growth, healing, therapy, coaching, whatever you call it, in the spectrum, called somatics, which is not mindfulness, but it works with the implicit patterns stored in our nervous system as sensations, movement, sequences, etc., and that when we can befriend this biology and the predictable order in which they're supposed to be completed, we can um, unlock a whole different level of understanding of the human psyche and growth. So I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner. I quit my strategic consulting job, and I actually, after the birth of my children, became a birth doula. And I've supported births and been in the birth room, and that's the focus on early attachment and how our earliest ways in which our neurons and nervous system is wired shows up in all these ways as we become adults. And so when we do this, we're able to touch upon a level that a lot of these other things miss. So that's what I do. So that's what a nervous system coach does. So in my work, the body is an essential participant in the whole process, and so it's not just cognitive. So.
Amazing. That was actually one of the reasons why I reached out to you. Because I feel like, as someone who is an immigrant and moved here, there's an element of the body that we kind of ignore or move apart. I mean, the question I like to ask you is, in the same way, when people move to a new country, culture, geography, a lot of time, cuisine has a different impact on the nervous system of a human being. Can you share perspectives on the impact in terms of their ability to play and find joy?
Yes. Um, yeah. So when we talk about immigration, I think there are different kinds of immigration, different reasons why people move. And, if we take this example of South Asians moving to the global north, specifically, North America and probably Europe, right? It's a very specific kind of immigration that is not uh, not physical. It it involves roles and things that are mind based and brain based largely. I mean, this is a right. So when you so there's that, and then rerouting, taking our bodies and brains from our home, whatever that might be, and rerouting is a significant event in the nervous system, no matter how much of choice or autonomy there is. What I mean by that is, even if it's not like a refugee kind of situation, even if you got headhunted to go set up this amazing thing, and let's assume you're not moving for survival, right? A small, and I think even a wide range of us really move for better economic opportunity, better, lifestyle, etc. Right? So it is aspirational. There is so when we do that, it's a significant event on the nervous system because human beings are relational. A lot of how we show up in the world involves co-regulation and finding community. And so when we uproot, there is a process of having to reroute ourselves and situate ourselves in a whole different context. And so that is a significant event in the nervous system. And then if you look at, contemporary immigration, there is always this survival anxiety that gets added on in terms of, I'm not just going there for a temporary, education. Most of us come here because we want to, find a job and set up families and get a citizenship, right? And so, there is a very real survival energy that goes on for, depending on which country you migrate to. It can take, your best case is, I'm guessing 5 to 7 years, like if you move as a student, for example, but worst case, 20, 25, 30 years, right? Or more, depending on which country and what your situation is. And so there's a lot at stake. There is a definite pressure to survive, and there's a very definite pressure to also thrive. And so what this level of stress is not acute, it's chronic, right? Because it's not that, let's say you had a tough quarter at work. Now that's a 3-month thing, and then it goes away, and then your body returns to a base level of thriving, whereas if you've lived in this kind of survival based hypervigilance for years, then that takes a significant amount out of your nervous system. This is a nervous system that, for example, is on all the time, is hypervigilant, always updating LinkedIn, one foot out the door, always talking to recruiters, always having plan A, plan B, plan C, can't relax. We really have struggles. It's almost like if I close my eyes, I'm going to miss it. It's that level of and of course what happens from a nervous system perspective is this is a nervous system that then is not wired for connection and safety, because when we're in this constant fight, flight, or freeze responses, the hypervigilance constantly on, and then because it gets too much and we kind of shut down and doom scroll and all of that, and then we keep yo-yoing between that. This is hormonally costly, this is metabolically costly, because the body is not designed to live like that for years. And so it has a definite impact on how we show up. So many of us can remember, let's say our mothers or even fathers, right? They would take a bullet for us, and in case of an emergency, they're the first people we'll call. However, we might really struggle to remember, spontaneous, funny, silly bonding experiences. So yeah, I think what happens then is this overworked nervous system, because remember that for us to play and rest, the body needs to feel safe. It's only when the nervous system can land that we have these states, play and rest, available to us. So the way this shows up is play as a nervous system state is essential for creativity. It is essential for community, spontaneity, right? And so many of us may aspire to be entrepreneurs, but can really struggle with that. There are other issues, visa, etc. But even, all things being equal, because to innovate, it requires a certain basic level of safety in the body to experiment and play. This can, for example, even if you're doing a side hustle or entrepreneurship, and, if you run into issues, in a resilient nervous system, we bounce back, right, and continue. But, when our resilience takes a hit, everything feels like a personal failure. And therefore, it's like, oops, this is maybe not for me. So I'm going to give it up and not try, anything new, things like that. So that's how play can show up in career, and then play in terms of taking calculated risks, I suppose, even in personal life, right? In terms of finding um, partnered intimacy, or even in parenting and community and things like that. So
Sangeeta, like your response, I feel like you have captured decades of that experience within minutes. Because everything is, I know for me, my friends, they were, it's always that sense of being constantly almost scared and anxious, when it comes to visa status. Once you get the citizenship status, during that period, you have the survival job. You're taking any job, you're putting up with harassment, discrimination because you want to keep everybody safe. And there's no time for fun. You feel almost bad to have fun or to have joy. And we're also living in this system of capitalism, which is focused on productivity. And you see the other layer of the sandwich is, in some sense, the very bodies, which we know are treated a bit differently based on our colors, our accents, this retreat into the mind, this retreat into hiding in something because it's the mind that is producing the value, the mind is producing the work as whatever job that is. And so it's so, if I use the word, almost insidious. It's almost an escape from the body because the body, in some sense, is this signal or source of being treated as different as the other. This complete retreat in the mind, which then shows up as burnout, anxiety, problems the family enjoys. I want to call that out. Like within a few minutes, you have captured, like really in a very deep way that I have not heard of. This just what that experience is from that, body, mind, soul, and joy. They can ask you, I would love to know, how did you unravel all of this? Because like, how did you, I would love to know that journey of yours.
yeah. um I grew up in a very there are so many layers of this dissociation with the body, right? I think we tapped on something very profound here. um the background to all of this is also that somehow we have lived in this dichotomy where the mind is somehow superior to the body, right? And it's because the body is temporal, and this is a socio-religious cultural story, right? Like that the body is temporary and the soul is permanent. There are so many sort of, nobody sits you down to tell you this stuff, but it's kind of around you, right? So I think um we grow up in environments that are predicated on a lot of dissociation, right? So it's like powering through, push through fatigue, and performance orientation and achievement as the holy grail. And in order for us to do to achieve, to belong, and in order for us to do that, we very early on, I think we grow up in a lot of sort of, we get very good with dissociating from the body, and we get very used to being in the brain. I think that split happens very early on. And again, now this is from a professional point of view, but personally, I think there was this nagging sense that something's missing for me, and I had powered through that for many years, because it was very easy to retreat to the intellect. It was very easy to intellectualize pain. It was very easy to, this is something that most of your viewers can relate to. Always been a psychology enthusiast, so the books, the podcasts, the even therapy, right? I don't think gets to this level, because like I said, I think historically this is changing now, but personal growth also was very predicated on the intellect or the brain over the body, right? And that the body, and sometimes it would trigger further dissociation, because the brain and intellectualizing and connecting the dots is something that it's easy, right? But then the triggers would still come, and I would feel like a failure, because it's like, hey, I am trying so hard. Like, I made personal growth another thing to achieve, or to power through, and so I would be doing the work, right? But I didn't know that I wasn't really doing the work, but I thought I was doing. And then also that you think that it's got to be hard, like you think that it's not, you're not allowed to make it simple, and you're not allowed to make it work for you, right? So that unease was there, and that search, I think somewhere there was a seeker. And then for me, I think the huge thing, and like, again, this is something that a lot of us can relate to, is parenting happened. And then in the process of my own pregnancy, and so we had hired a doula ourselves and wanted to have a less interventional birth. We were in the UK at that time. And then to do that, I had to unlearn fear, because everything I was told about the human body was that it was defective and it was fit for nothing, and that I couldn't birth a child without heavy medical intervention because I had no clue. I hadn't trusted my body ever before, or even connected with my body at all, right? And so it's like, what is this? But to have this birth that I wanted, I really had to face all my fears. It was very scary to get in touch with my body, right? Because it's a very alien feeling for most of us, because we're so used to being in the brain. And then birth is the opposite of that, because it's requiring you to like really switch off your thinking brain and go into a very intuitive place. And that was not a place that I was used to, and that was scary. And and I think that's the start of it. And then once you do that, it's like, whoa, okay, nobody told me about this. And then I mean, that kickstarted a whole journey of understanding all of this. And then years of education, training, mentorship later. This is also building my own body of work. A lot of this was not tailor-made for the immigrant experience or the female nervous system, which is very different, and the cultural aspects of what shows up in the nervous system. So I had to go out and build my own body of work, and that's what I offer now.
Wow, that's incredible, because I mean, that's it. It's, this is not stuff that you can, and again, that classical, again, South Asian immigrants, like, where's that book? Where's that? And it's
Where's
like, no, I mean,
exactly?
it's not about knowledge. It's about actually, and sometimes finding who you are and getting comfortable in that very thing you've denied for so long. And Sangeeta, before we wrap, I want to say, is there anything that you'd like to mention? Anything you'd like to focus on?
Yeah, this is a really good point, actually. The Where's the Book?
Yeah.
That was, so I have two daughters, and for my first daughter's birth, because this whole thing was so alien to me, right? Me and my husband, in very typical, I think, this South Asian Where's the Book fashion, we were almost over prepared. We're like, okay, let's take all the classes, let's take all the workshops, let's go through all the research, we'll make a birth plan and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think it was sort of also overdoing it to the point where when it push came to shove, it wasn't really like being embodied as much, right? Because the fear and the extra layers. But after that, I think it was still a beautiful birth. It was all very, very new. And then the second time around, I just surrendered to it. I think it was easier to really sort of surrender to it and resist the urge to again go to the books and the theory and all the data. And it's like, okay, I didn't focus on the outcome. So the first time around, it wasn't exactly the birth that we went to the hospital and she was born in the hospital, and in very true achievement perfectionism based upbringing, I felt like a failure. And rather than giving ourselves credit for doing all of that and having a healthy baby, there was this also, I think, preoccupation with like the outcome. And then the second time around, all that unlearning happened. And then the second time around, I just surrendered to the process, and wherever it took us, it was fine. And then it was a very beautiful home birth. My second one was born in our living room, and we had the midwives and doulas and all of that. So I think that's the story of how looking at all of the where's the unlearning the where's the book mentality happened through life experiences, I think.
Amazing, Sangeeta. So if anyone wants to kind of, get in touch with you, learn more about you, what's the best way they could do that?
So I'm on sangparts.com. So, go to my website, have a look. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So Sangheetha Parthasarathy on LinkedIn. So you can get in touch with me there. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, sang_part. Just Google Sangheetha Parthasarathy and you'll find me. Nervous system coach, and then you'll find me.
Amazing, Sangeeta. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.